Introduce you to Dr. Wayne Hammond. He is our senior consultant for Certified Flourishing Coach and an amazing advisor to us. He is the one who knows a lot about the concept, the science of flourishing, as well as our CEO, A. Brown. And Dr. Wayne always just really brings the heart of what we do in our coaching program to the surface. And then what we're going to do after Dr. Wayne just shares his heart, shares a little bit more about flourishing. We're going to have a little Q&A. So take it away, Dr. Wayne.
Wow, it's a pleasure to be here with everybody and excited to see you joining an adventure. That's when Abe and I first talked about this whole concept of coaching, and traditionally coaching has been sort of a softer version of counseling in some sense, or at least people perceived it that way. So it was still around, hey, I've got a challenge in life and coming along somebody that might help you kind of navigate that. And flourishing or strength-based approach to coaching does encompass that, but it sort of has a different starting point. One of the things that I'm a real big believer in, and like my background's a clinical psychologist, so don't hold that against me, and I won't analyze you in here. But I was trained in the medical model. And so when somebody had a challenge, then it was sort of like I saw it as my responsibility to sort of help that person understand what that issue might be. And therefore, we would prescribe something to say, this is probably the best way for you to address this, and you should be okay. Well, what we found in that model is that it's not all that effective because what happens is that it creates dependency. We might eliminate that problem for that particular time, but have we actually prepared that person to navigate future challenges or to grow their potential in a very purposeful way? And I think that's the opportunity we have now with the strength-based approach to coaching, or the flourishing concept. Because flourishing is a much more holistic model. We do address issues, but we're also putting it into the larger context of nurturing the person's perspective of who you are, how valuable you are, what strengths you have, so that you're actually then teaching them a way of thinking, a way of coping, that they can actually then engage future situations or opportunities in a very productive way. And as a coach, it's more about not so much solving a problem, although you may, wrestle with that a bit, but you're actually facilitating a process. You're actually coming alongside and being that important person that encourages, that helps the person to reframe situations, to actually think about what could be possible, and therefore engage in some of those steps forward. But ultimately, what we want is our clients to own their own journey. And I kind of use the concept of story, and I think everybody has a story. And what we have this privilege is coming alongside for a certain period of time to help support them writing their story. And that's the key word. It's their story, not my story, not what I think it should be, because I have my own story. And sometimes we have to watch in that journey of coming alongside is that we're not imposing our story or what we think their story should look like. Because if people are truly going to engage their own story and move forward with a sense of motivation and self-determination, it has to be meaningful to them. A friend of mine, Scott Miller, did some research, and he kind of talked about two of the most important factors that result in positive change. One is the person connected in a meaningful relationship where they feel like they're being heard, that their story is being listened to, and that they're feeling valued as a result of that. But the other part of it is, are we engaged in meaningful activities with that person? So we're not prescribing some wish list to them. We're actually asking questions. We're being curious. We're inviting them into it as discovery of what they might want to engage in. And how do we prepare them for that? So part of the training that we offer is going to be around the idea of how do you connect with people so that they actually feel valued? Because trust is critical to the work that you're going to do. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything. And then as a result of having trust, because that actually, if you go through a training workshop, I'll explain all the brain science around this, because it's actually quite amazing. You're actually taking that amygdala part of the brain, you're putting it at ease. Because that amygdala, our brains are designed to survive, not thrive. the people you'll be working with, they'll be scanning their environment 3 to 4 times every second looking for a threat. So your tone of voice, what you start with, how you engage them are all going to be critical for setting that cornerstone to start the journey of them exploring their potential. And so the next step you'll be going through is that idea of how do we inspire people to think of what might be, the possibilities. And therefore, you're starting to sort of etch a little bit of a strategy going forward. And once you come to a conclusion that the person says, this is where I want to go, here's some of the strengths that I bring to the picture, but here's the where areas that I need support. Let's pull this together in a pathway forward. You're going to be facilitating that process with them. But the idea is that they're actually doing a lot of the heavy work and you're just coaching it along, because then they're owning it. It's their story, and therefore it's more meaningful. And that captures that second part of that equation. Your actual technique and your pedagogy and certification, all those kind of things are all less than 17% of the factor. I'm actually going to teach you or work with you around the idea of what does it mean to be a Tim Hortons therapist? It's that idea we get together, we have a common journey. You're on this journey too. You need to always realize that we're not just helping people, we're actually coming alongside and participating in that story forward. We just have the privilege of a certain period of time to work together. And ultimately, what you want is for people to actually learn that it's okay to step out of their comfort zone. It's okay for them to try things, make mistakes, learn from it, because that's actually how we learn. And that's another part of the brain science that I'll share with you. If people actually aren't out trying things that has a high probability of them failing at, they won't learn. It's actually when we're out there doing something that we never thought possible that we actually start to write those no neural pathways. That if we repeat it, it becomes a habit, it becomes a conviction. So I'll be talking to you about how does your client feel, therefore how they think, therefore how they behave. And if they repeat that behavior, it becomes a conviction. They have confidence around that. And so that idea of flourishing is this helping people to develop an inner sense of, I'm a person of value. I feel good about who I am. And I'm actually got some amazing relationships now that I've chosen to bring into my life. And I'm learning what it means to draw upon my strengths in competent ways. So no matter what's happening in my life, I'm sort of centered. And therefore, I approach these opportunities as growth opportunities, not something to avoid, not something to run away from. And you're actually inviting them into this amazing journey of what I learned yesterday because I stepped out, I'm using today. But what I'm encouraged to try today by stepping out, I'm going to need for tomorrow. And so that's that continuous journey. So your role as a coach is less about fixing and more about facilitating a person's awareness of their own greatness. And then the right types of experience that solidify that, it becomes confidence building, it becomes practice, it becomes, hey, I actually know how to create success now. So no matter what comes my way, I know how to step into it and I know how to walk through it in a successful way. And that to me is really kind of the essence of what flourishing or the coaching towards flourishing is. And one of the things I've realized in my journey is that I want to treat people the way I would want to be treated. I want people to have a sense that I'm there because I value them. I want them there to understand that they have the potential to do great things, and we're going to do it together. So your personal values and your practice as a professional are now aligned. And that is what helps you to be the amazing coach that you're going to be. Because if you're doing something that's inconsistent with your personal values, that gets stressful. You start to struggle with, do I live with this? Can I continue practicing at this? And so now when I work with people, it doesn't mean that sometimes it's not challenging and that there's not, those times when you really have to work hard at it. But at the end of the day, I can say with great confidence that I'm on the right track. I did good work today. I may see what I planted today 2 weeks from now, but right now I know I'm on track with this client because I'm treating them in a way that I would want them to treat me. And it will eventually start producing the outcomes that you're looking for. Just that some people have a journey to date that's taught them not to believe in themselves or to be scared of things or to react to things. And you have to have that courage to go through that with them. But if you get into the ugly part of life, and it's not saying it's bad, it's just that you're not walking away. And you get into it, people then start to realize, oh, you're here for the right reasons. You're here because you want me to succeed. And therefore, you've earned their trust, and you now can ask the tough questions. You can ask those tough invitations to step out of their comfort zone. And it's amazing when you see people starting out, and then all of a sudden the light bulbs come on. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I can do that. Oh, that's what I think success looks like. Then you got that, I don't know, for me, it's just a deep satisfaction, because that's why I do what I do. I'm not there to fix people. I'm there to turn light bulbs on, so that they have an awareness of who they are, what they can do, and that they're going to then start practicing that at a personal level and in their work environment, or whatever role they have, or whatever you've been engaged around. So, and then the other thing I've kind of found from that is that people don't come back to you so much because they want something fixed. They actually come back and continue the journey with you as a coach because they want to grow their potential. And that's a whole different way of looking at things. If I just fix a person's problem, and we can do that, then I haven't prepared them for anything. I got rid of that immediate stress that they had, but have I prepared them for the next day, the next week, the next potential challenge in their life? So that's the journey that you're kind of entering into. It's not a journey of, oh, everything relies on me and I've got to fix that. Actually, we're going to teach you the skills of how to listen to the story of your client, because the solution is always in the story. And if you know the right questions to ask, the things to look for, you're going to identify that pathway forward. And it's going to be something that they perceive as meaningful to them, because it's a reflection of the story they were telling you. And now you're just digging into that story and building upon that story forward. And so it's a really interesting approach. The research is starting to show that it's probably the most effective model out there. Now, people do experience significant mental health issues, and they need to address that. But this is more about people wanting to grow their potential. We need to know when to refer people if it isn't a mental health concern or way beyond, but we don't step out of the picture. We're still part of the journey going forward. And that because they're going to need that once they resolve maybe the mental health issue, but we don't allow that mental health issue to define who they are. We define them by what they're going to embrace as you guide them along. So that's the invitation. That's the model in a nutshell. Even today, I did an 8-hour workshop with Sudbury Public Health, and they're adopting the model because they realize that the problem-solving approach is not effective. They realize that all it does is fixes something temporarily, and then it tends to get bigger the next time. So in some sense, I'm inviting you into what I consider to be an ethical practice, because it's all about how do we value people and create an awareness of their potential and give them permission to practice it.
Wow, that's fantastic, Dr. Wayne, and such a great way to describe what the difference is between, say, our flourishing model and flourishing not being a new concept, but something that's been around for a while. And you've studied extensively. Actually, it's interesting. I was listening to you and kind of chuckling because I took Marianne and a group of people through what you had mentioned about going from how we feel to how we think to what are the behaviors that come out of that. We just did that last weekend and really talked about the flourishing model. How do we find strength in the struggle? And so we did a bit of a group coaching experience through that. And so, Marianne, you got a chance to experience what Dr. Wayne was talking about. But for those of you who haven't, I'm wondering, and even Marianne, you who have, now you have Dr. Wayne in the room, any questions as Dr. Wayne was speaking about this concept? Was anything coming up for you? Any questions at all? Would love to take a moment just to answer those.
All right, if I may. I find what you said is fantastic. Like, you're speaking my language, and that's what attracted me to Connie was, I think we search for like-minded people, and that's what brought but Dr. Wayne, you're so right when you say things like don't impose your story. because as much as we can bring experience and share our story with others, we can't impose it and give it to them like it's their experience and ask them to navigate the same way we do.
Right.
And I find on my path right now that I flip into that every once in a while. It's like, oh, I don't know what the technique is here. I'll just use what worked for me.
Right.
And so when you speak to that, that makes 100% sense. I'm looking to add tools to my toolbox, if you will, on how to navigate situations. I help people flourish with their finances. And I can go in and I can fix someone's current financial situation or their health. But if I'm not equipping them to carry on in that path, it's the same struggle, right? And then the same thing with parents. Like I can coach parents that are struggling with their kids, again, speaking to my story and my experience, but that doesn't always work for them. So it's just taking that to another level.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you enter into this, you're going to have a lot of different stories. Yeah. And I mean, there's common themes sometimes, but yeah, everybody brings their own journey of experiences to it. And that's what you want to understand. Yeah. Well said.
That's so good. Yeah, so good, Marianne. I'm glad you brought that up. It's that's that part of the fixing that's hard. I think it's a part of a mother. It's hard.
Well, you want to go in and fix, right?
Yeah.
Like as a mom, I want to fix everything, but that's temporary. That's no different than putting a Band-Aid on a wound and not fixing the wound itself, right? We need to teach how to navigate through this stuff. It's life skills, in my opinion. So
Yes.
absolutely.
Yep. 100%. And for those of you who are interested in our training, what we do is we teach 6 steps that you would walk someone through. It's our 6-step change model. And what we do in the life coach certification is we include Dr. Wayne's flourishing life assessment, as well as the 10 core competencies that Dr. Wayne has identified as a flourishing person. And what we do in it is we actually give a tool that you can use for anyone. You could use this with your child. You could use this anywhere. As a coach, you can use this with clients. And it allows their story to come out and for you to be exactly what Dr. Wayne talked about, the facilitator. And it's a fantastic, fantastic training. What I love the most about it is that we do teaching, but it's a lot of experiential learning, meaning that you're going to actually get a chance to do these things rather than just learn about them. You're going to do them because that enhances learning. So that's just to add on to that. And then I noticed that Cynthia actually put the link in the chat because it's coming up at the end of January, which sounds so far away, but we all know that that's going to sneak up on us like nothing. But I want to ask if anyone else has any questions as well. Yes. Yes, Lisa.
Sorry, I don't have a question actually, but I'm gonna, so I'll just share a little bit of probably why I'm here. I keep finding myself back here with you guys, which is sort of funny. So I moved to Calgary in July, and I actually stumbled upon you guys. I left a teaching job actually out east because I felt that they were not, I felt that we're always focusing on the wrong things. We're always giving the kids, you're doing this wrong, you got to improve this, you got to improve that. And in my English as a second language, because I was teaching in Gatineau, Ottawa and Quebec are separated by a river. So I used to cross the river every day. And I really felt that we were always focusing on these negatives, negative, negative, negative. And I felt that it was not helping the kids. And I really felt that as a teacher, I could be doing so much more by focusing on what these kids are really good at. So I left my job, which is crazy. I think it's crazy to become a coach for teenagers. I'm actually helping some now in Canada and the US. Anyway, that's beside the point. Went to one of your seminars. I really liked it. I mean, you guys had coaches that were speaking, like we're up on the stage at the, there was people online as well. So I got to hear them. It was very interesting. Then I fell upon the Calgary Youth Justice Society, Which is a flourishing, they run your guys' program, like it's a flourishing program. And it really, really spoke to me specifically on going through strengths. And I have a student with me, a leader with me. And this kind of way of mentality and going about this is exactly what we should be doing. I can speak for teenagers, but I would imagine it's for everybody. So I just wanted to put a little plug in there. I have this big, thick, fabulous notebook sitting on my shelf right now. And it's crazy how just thinking about yourself positively is kind of hard. So
Yeah.
imagine us giving this to other people. And it really, and then of course, here I am again today. So I feel like the universe is trying to tell me something in this. Um, but yeah, so I've used the flourishing with the Calgary Youth Justice Society. It is an amazing program, and it does transform the lives, really, because when you focus on what you already have and what you're already good at rather than focusing on what you need to get better at, I mean, you open up everything for everybody. And I've had to learn a lot about, here I am telling my story, imposing my story, but I've had to learn to just shut my mouth and listen, right? Which has been life-changing for me specifically, because as a teacher, we're always giving the answers. We're always telling the students, and doing this program with Calgary Youth, it has really changed how I am with my young leader. So I just wanted to put a little plug in for that. It's an amazing program. It's amazingly put together so well for these young leaders and us as mentors for these kids. Yeah, little plug. So it's a great program, actually.
That's
Are you
great.
going to the presentation tomorrow night?
I don't know.
Oh.
I signed up for a bunch of things because they had come on for like Black Friday or Cyber Monday sale. So I was like, okay, no, this is like, I really gotta.
Yeah.
So I am signed up for something else. I just don't know what exactly. I have to go through my inbox. I think that I'm doing the January already. But anyway, I'm not sure. But maybe we could like put a link in for tomorrow's talk.
We have no idea what that is, so I don't know if I don't know if we can, but I appreciate you really sharing how that's impacting you already in the work. You talk about young people, that's my why, Lisa. Everything I do with flourishing is because our young people need to flourish. And actually Dr. Wayne, myself, and Abe, our CEO, right now we're creating an entire flourishing educator program, literally a whole department for which we are the department, but it's so needed right now to know how to flourish ourselves first. And then somebody asked me today, I was with because we do a flourishing workplace, and I was with an organization that works with kids with autism, and they asked me a question. They said, what makes a safe space? And I said, are you a safe space? That's what makes a safe space. When I'm safe, the space will be safe. And if there's enough safe people, the space will be safe. And so that's, again, like, we flourish in order for others to flourish first. So appreciate you being here. Love your heart for youth. And yeah, it's fantastic. We have a few more moments. I don't know if anyone else has a question that you want to ask before we wrap it up. Would love to make sure we include everyone. Okay, well, on that note, just so you know, you can ask anytime. Cynthia, you probably have Cynthia's email. There she is. She's got her Calendly link right there. You can connect with her. So our life coach certification is our baseline certification. It will tell you everything that you need to know about the science of flourishing in the scope of practice that a coach practices in. And it's fantastic. And from there, we have 12 different niche certifications. We have parenting, we have business, relationships, wellness, creativity, workplace, leadership. We have all kinds. And so, what some people will do is they'll take our baseline flourishing certification, our life coach, and they'll bundle it with a niche that they're interested in coaching specifically in. Another thing that a lot of people take advantage of, just to put it out there, is sometimes people will join our year program, which means that they get 5 certifications, plus they get a personal coach for a year that will walk you through how are you going, like what's your goal? You want to start a coaching business? Okay, here's how you get from A to Z. How do we launch that? Plus, you get a very supportive community. And so, those are 3 different options that you can be thinking about. You can be thinking about maybe you just want to start with the life coach certification and check it out. You certainly can do that. If you want to bundle it with another one of our niches, certainly can do that, or take full advantage of our whole year program. There's 2 levels. There's the 5 certification program, where you can take all of our certifications. There's a whole load of things with that. If you follow up with Cynthia, Marianne, you and I can chat about all these different options. But if you follow up with Cynthia, you can find out about all the different ways to go about this. But it's a great community, and we really do desire you to flourish and see your potential realized. That's what gets us excited, right, Cynthia?
You got it, Connie. Thank you so much. Well done, everybody. Great questions and great comments tonight.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Right. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for coming.
Yes. Okay. Talk to you. All right. Bye-bye.